Hi there, Dave Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild. Welcome back to another episode of The Mystic Arts. In this episode, I'm going to take a quick, uncomplicated look at paintbrushes. They can be mystifying, they can be intimidating, but I'm going to tell you how to not even worry about all that. Stick around for another fine episode of The Mystic Arts. Okay, so you're getting ready to get into painting. How do you choose a brush? Well, let's take a look at it. This is one brand, and look at all the different kinds of brushes. It can be kind of intimidating, and I'm telling you, don't worry about it. Look, all you got to do is pick up your model or your miniature and just take a look at what you want to get into painting. You're going to paint these big guys, you're going to paint small guys, you're going to paint both. Okay, it's not a problem. So what do you do for the bigger guys? Well, it's quite simple. Let's start there. If you have a miniature or model that you're going to paint and you can tell that there's going to be a lot of one color or a lot of surface area for that one color that you're going to put on, it's quite simple. You want a bigger brush because you can get more paint on that miniature quicker. If your miniature is somewhere in between or some parts of the miniature are reasonably big without being super small, like, I don't know, like these antennae, these arms. On this monster, his eyes are kind of big, whereas on this smaller character, you know, the gun, the sword, these skulls, these flames, they're reasonably good size, so I can get away with a more of a medium-sized brush. Now, when we get down to the real fine details, and honestly, the eyes on this guy kind of borderline, so they could use a real small brush. Same with this particular figure right here. You know, some of the detail on the skulls or around the weapons, or her hair even has a little metallic clasp in it, or like some of the fire right here, these hooks, or even here she's got a book that's wrapped in chains. That's going to need a real small brush. So this fine tip brush would be just right to use for the details on her. And that's all you really got to do, is take a look at what you want to paint. I'm going to paint this. Well, let's see. Should I use this real small itty bitty fine tip brush that you probably can't even see the tip on? That's a lot of surface area to cover with just this one brush. So if you need to put a lot of paint on it, well, get a big brush. Simple as that. The less paint you're going to put on them, get a more medium size, you know, still reasonably thick brush, but something you could easily, like with this, you could still easily paint on pieces of armor, the boots. You could paint the weapon details, swords, and you could even, once you get a little bit more control with this brush, once you really learn how to use it, you could even hit some of the quick details very easily by just going in and out with this brush. And then, of course, there is always, my brush has escaped. There is always, again, this super fine detail brush. This is by Army Painter. This specifically is called the Psycho because the tip is so super fine, it's very, very hard to see. And here we'll get another one. Got medium one next to it. And finally we'll get that large brush next to it. So you can see, even without worrying exactly what kind of brushes these are for or worrying about any kind of particular technique, you can see how each of these brushes would easily work with her. So let's see, I'm getting that cloak painted up. I could probably get away with this big brush real quick, save myself some time, and then use this smaller brush to work out any additional details or to fix anything where I may have overpainted with the big brush, and then use this real super fine brush to finish off all the smaller details. And, well, how do you know which brush to use? Well, I could spend 45 minutes telling you, or you could get painting now. Thing is, though, the only way you're going to get better is experience. So start painting, and you know what? Don't be so wound up and worried about what other people are going to say about your painting job. Hey, I was there, been there, done that. And you know what? I'm still not the best painter in the world. But you know, I have gotten better over time, and I'm really happy with what I paint. And you also have to be realistic, too. Remember, when you're looking at a brush, or I'm sorry, when you're looking at your model, when you're right here up on it and you see all these little details that you miss and you get so disappointed in yourself that you just want to quit, you have to remember, is everybody really going to get up close and look at this miniature? Oh, sure they might, but when you're playing, say, Dungeons and Dragons, this miniature, 9 times out of 10, is usually going to be about 2 or 3 feet away from anybody. And no one's really going to notice those little miniature details anyways. I mean, they will, and they'll appreciate it when they get a little more up close. But also, too, unless you're in a serious painting competition, I wouldn't worry so much about it. You know, paint it, get done with it, and be happy with it. Now, of course, like myself, I'm never truly happy with the model. There's always little bits I look at and like, oh man, I want to go back and fix this. Oh, I want to go fix that. And occasionally I do go back and start tweaking the miniature as I get a little bit better. But that's just personal preference. And there are a lot of models that I've put together and painted, and I'm happy just like they are. And here's the thing. I tell you, don't worry about it, because the more you paint, the better you will naturally become. So, you know, I'm not telling you that you can't be a good painter, because everybody can be a good painter. Everybody can be a great painter. It just depends on how much time you want to apply to painting. And you know what? Everybody had to start somewhere. Even those guys you see in the Warhammer magazines, the White Dwarf, and their stuff's winning all these Golden Demon Awards, and they're really amazing painters. You know how those guys got like that? By painting a lot, and by really focusing on their technique, and really working at it like a job. I mean, seriously, the more time you devote to something, the better you will get, because you're paying attention to it, you're learning from your mistakes, and you're continually pushing yourself. And now that's not to say you got to spend 20 hours on this one miniature just so you can play Dungeons and Dragons. Now, tell you what, at the end of this video, I've got 3 miniatures that I painted. They're all battle nuns, and it's supposed to be the same character. And I painted them in such a way to where, you know, one's kind of like a traveling kind of figure, the other one's got one's kind of weapon, and the other one has a different kind of weapon and a couple different weapons and a different pose. And honestly, I painted them all in an afternoon. I probably spent about 2 hours on each. And if you take a look at them, at the very end of the video, go all the way to the end of the video, take a look. There's about about 20-second segment right at the end of the video where it'll say like, share, subscribe, and all that. I'm going to try and make it a little bit longer so you can actually take a look at the detail. Just pause the video and take a look at them. You'll notice that there seems to be quite a bit of detail. But when you look at the faces, I didn't even bother to paint the faces. You know, I put the flesh tone on, and quite frankly, because of the detail on the faces, it was enough for me to be satisfied with those. Now, sure, might I go back in the future and add some extra facial detail? I might, but you know, for just doing some role playing and just for me to have, and that was my character that I'm actually still playing, but for me to have that character painted and on the field, I'm just happy that it's painted and it doesn't look like a pile of nothing. You know, that it's actually got paint on it and it doesn't just have paint every which way. Is it the best? No. Winning any awards? Absolutely not. Can you tell what it's supposed to be? You bet. And even without any extra detail painted on the faces, you can still see the facial detail underneath of the actual miniature itself. And with natural light and shadow, it fills it in just fine. So I don't worry too much about it. Now, do you want to push yourself and become a better painter and paint way better than me? You can do it. Anybody can do it. I don't care who you are. If you devote the time to it, you can become a better painter. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to paint for 20 hours just to kick out one miniature for a game. I mean, if you want to go back and continue to work on miniatures and make them better and give them better detail, man, absolutely you can, and you should go for it. But I'm just saying, painting doesn't have to be difficult. You don't have to spend hours painting. Again, I spent about two hours each on those miniatures that are at the end of the video here. And I'm very happy with them, and they're reasonably detailed, and they look pretty good. So, again, just take your time and be proud of what you've done. And, you know, if you decide to go back and touch up your miniatures, that's the great thing about painting. You can. You absolutely can. And remember, the more you do, the better you're going to get. And also, too, be realistic. If you're got that miniature close up to your face, and you're like, oh, man, that belt buckle looks awful. Remember, and you need to take a breather, take a break, reality check, come back to it, set it on your game map, and sit where you're normally going to sit when you're playing, you're not even going to notice that detail. You'll notice that detail, but everybody else is going to see a sweet painted miniature. So don't worry about it. Enjoy painting for the sake of painting. And remember, if you want to get into it, if you want to get better, there's nothing stopping you. And of course, here at GameMasters Guild, I'm always here if you have any questions or need any help. Definitely contact me. If you need to put a message down in the comments or email us at gmgcrestview@aol.com, man, you go right ahead and I'll see what I can do. Kind of hard to answer painting questions through an email or through comments on YouTube, but man, I will certainly try. And if you are in the area here in Crestview, Florida, man, come on down. And sometimes I actually get a moment where I can actually stop, pull out my paints, and show you. I always keep extra miniatures around so I can help people out with questions when they have them. All right. Well, I know this video might not be what you expected about brushes, but remember, keep it simple. And simple is nice and relaxing. So again, I'm Dave Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild. Thanking you again for coming and checking out the Mystic Arts. And I hope all these videos are definitely filling your time, and I hope you're enjoying them. So ultimately, stay safe, play great games, and I'll see you real soon.